problem for us in network marketing in this type of business. People make a decision, yes, I'm going to go all the way to the top in Swissgolden, and then 1 week later, 2 weeks later, 2 months, they quit. And that's a lot about what we're going to be talking about today, is how to keep people, instead of them joining and dropping out, but how to keep more of them. The lady that I learned most of the things from that I'm using today, her name was Peggy Long. And she signed up over 4 years, about 1 person a month. And that's not too much. Most people can, if they were diligent, they can sign up 1 person a month for 4 years. But in those 4 years, she built an organization of 152,000 people. Hey, you didn't do what you're supposed to. I simply asked them, hey, are you doing right now what you want your team members to do? I ask that all the time. Did you do today what you want your team members to do? And some say, but I don't have any team members yet. Well, are you doing right now what you would like future team members to do? And I teach them this principle as well. Be your own best distributor. And actually, I changed distributor, I mean partner. You know, there's different words for it in the industry. Associate, partner, distributor. I believe you use the word partner, right? So be your own best partner. Most of the time they'll say, no, I'm not. And then I simply ask them, so what can you do? What are you willing to do differently to become the best person on your team? So I don't tell them what to do. I ask them what they're willing to do to get results. But when they tell me, I make sure that I always write, you will not believe it. So the worst thing you can do when talking to people is cutting them off mid-sentence. I know some of you here do it. I guarantee it. And the moment you stop doing that, you will see an incredible increase in response rate and the ability to lead people, the ability to sign up people. That's the worst thing you can do, is cut somebody off mid-sentence. Yes, I know sometimes it can be boring to hear people talk. And you want to share as well. You want to share what you want to share. But guess what? They want to be heard. They want to be listened to. They want to feel important. And when you give them that gift of listening, wow, they're just there for us to listen. Deep trust builds very, very quickly that way. So this is one of the most important skills that I'm teaching my team, to listen deeply without judgment, but to simply just try to find out if you really want to understand that person. Not just for the purpose of signing them up in Swissgolden, but you really truly want to understand them. It'll work so much better when you have the right attitude of caring. So F-O-R-D, it stands for from, occupation, recreation, and dreams and desires. So this is when you meet somebody. I use this method anywhere I meet a stranger. You're already ahead of the game. You have 7 people. Month 2, you should only have 4. And now we only have 7. Right? So after 6 months, you have 64. But now it starts to get interesting. 128, month 7. Month 8, 256. Month 9, 512. Month 10, 1,024. Month 11, 2,048. Month 12, 4,096. Minus yourself. That is 4,095 people. Okay. I trust you. So, do you remember that game? When you reached number 4, 5, 6, there is no resemblance to the original message. no resemblance whatsoever to the original message. Problems are okay. Problems are fine. As long as we don't let ourselves stop from where we are going. So when you teach them this, that leaders are great problem solvers, and that the bigger the problem, the bigger the paycheck, they will start to rise up, and take more responsibility and be okay with problems. Just be okay with problems. It's a problem, so what? Do you realize the price? If you overcome this problem, do you realize the price? Total financial freedom. Is that worth it? Is that worth the problem? Is that worth the struggle? That's what you need to ask yourself, and you need to ask your people all the time. So, again, they call me with a problem. I says, fantastic. How are you going to solve that? I don't try to solve problems for my people. How are you going to solve that? And after doing this for about 7, 10, 15 times, they know that when they call, I'm going to ask them, how do you intend to solve this problem? And I'm teaching them step by step how to become more self-reliant. And I teach them another thing, is that when they call me to ask for guidance, they should already have a couple of solutions. And I teach them that. If you call me for guidance, have a couple of solutions, and I can help you to choose the right one. This is also very, very important to have them solve their own problems for one very, 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 very important reason. Well, two actually. Again, if you come up with the solutions all the time, you teach them that you're the source. Some leaders in network marketing love that. They love to be the source. They love to be the problem solver for their people. But they will find that they only reach a certain level and they can't grow any further. Because they don't teach the people to be the problem solvers. They don't teach the people to be self-reliant. Number 2 reason. If they, let's say, I ask them, how do you intend to solve this? And they come up with a great answer. They come up with a right answer, which they will, in most cases. If they come up with the right answer, that is an incredible opportunity for you to praise them, to acknowledge them for being so brilliant to come up with the right answer, for being such an amazing person to work with. So every time that they solve a problem by themselves, they come up with the right solution, you have a chance to build the confidence. Are you with me? This is so, so important to build people's self-confidence. So, is this good stuff? Okay, we're actually going to come to that in a second. But what you do from the first day you sign up somebody. Well, I make a very, 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 very important agreement with them. For the first thing, an important agreement. I call it the master agreement. This This is the master agreement. And that agreement creates the foundation for being able to actually lead this person. So, the master agreement goes like this. Let's say, who wants to volunteer here? Sure, do you speak English? A little bit? You speak a little bit English? A little bit? What was your name again? What was your name again? Aletia. Yes? So Aletia, let's say you just sign up with me. Okay. This is Aletia. If we are to have a fruitful partnership and do this business successfully, we need to trust each other. And we need to have respect for each other. Does that make sense? Great. So for example, if we made an agreement to meet tomorrow, 3 o'clock, and I didn't show up, maybe you will think, well, I hope Patrick is okay, that he's not involved in an accident or that he's stuck in traffic somewhere. Okay? But if I do it 2 times, or 3 times, you lose trust and respect in me. Does that make sense? Great. So what I'd like to do with all team members, because we need to have a strong partnership, is that we make an agreement that we will never break agreements with each other. We never break agreements with each other. And you can trust me to do that, to never break agreements. But I also know that sometimes stuff happens. There could be a crisis that prevents you from keeping your agreement. So let's say your dog got sick and you have to take it to the hospital. Right? There's a crisis that prevents you from keeping the agreement. Now what I would like to do is that we make the agreement that if you cannot keep the agreement, that you let me know, and then we renegotiate the agreement. We renegotiate the agreement. Can you see that here? That if we operate in this way, that we will keep a strong partnership and we will keep respect for each other. Yes. Strong partnership. A strong partnership. This is so important to have this feeling of a strong partnership with your people. And that gives you a really, really amazing tool, a foundation to be able to lead your people effectively. So, for example, somebody says, I'm going to talk to 10 people this week. I always ask them, great, are you committed to talk to 10 people? And they says, yes, I'm committed. Great, so we have a firm agreement on that. Yes. If they kind of say, well, I'm not sure if I'm 100% committed. Great. What are you committed to? Well, 7. Great. And you're absolutely certain you're committed and you can do 7? Yes. Great. And I trust you. And I'm here to help you keep that commitment. When you teach people about commitments, it's much, much better to set a lower activity goal, a lower goal, and to hit it, than setting a high goal that you don't hit. Much better. Because when you set high goals that you don't hit, you keep yourself in the loop of making excuses and creating stories and drama to keep you from doing what you said you're going to be doing. When it's too tough in the gym, we said, oh no, I can't do this, it's too hard, and I don't have time. Right? I don't have time for this. So we start coming up with all these stories. Right? So become a person of accountability. When you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. No matter what. Become a no matter what kind of person. Because when that becomes a habit, even if it's small goals that you hit every time, guess what happens? Your confidence in yourself grows. Your confidence grows. And then you set the sight a little bit higher, you set your goals a little bit higher, and you hit them, your confidence grows. And you keep on going like that all the way to the top. So can you see how making this agreement is really, really important? Because otherwise what happens is, most of the time, people say, oh, I'm going to come to the meeting and I'm going to bring 10 people. And then they don't even show up themselves. Because they didn't have anyone. And they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed to show up. And so they call you, or you call them to see what happened, and they don't pick up the phone. Because now they're embarrassed, because they broke a promise. Well, if you make this agreement with them, it's really an amazing foundation for keeping them accountable. Because they will call you and say, you know what, I only talked to 3 people so far this week, and I know I said I'm going to talk to 20, but this happened and I just simply cannot do it. Says, great. How many can you talk to? Well, I can talk to 10. Great. Are you committed to talk to 10? Yes. That way we keep the respect for each other. We keep the partnership with each other. Are you with me? Yes. Awesome. So here is the most powerful duplication and leadership principle of all time. It really is amazing. Really is amazing. It's called tell, show, do. And I learned this way, way, way back with my first network marketing company, which was Herbalife. That was my very first network marketing company. And I've been teaching about tell, show, do. And I heard a lot of other people teaching about tell, show, do. I've just met very, very, very few people in the industry that actually does it. So here's what it really is. So first, you tell people what to do. So that will be a training like this one. We do a training, or we share information. You tell people what to do. You might explain the compensation plan. You might have a training on what to say to people, how to prospect, and so on. So that's the telling part. And most of the industry is built on that. But I can tell you, if you do the showing and the doing, you can blow the roof off your growth. You will explode your business. So the showing is you showing people what to do, meaning making calls, live calls to real prospects. Okay? Live calls to real prospects, or going to a networking event with them, or going to a party with them, and they can see you, how you talk to people, how you interact with people, how you get somebody's interest. That's the showing part. And I can tell you, this is so unbelievably powerful. I'll give you an example. Had a guy called, can't remember what he's called now. I think it was Abdul. So let's say Abdul signed up. And I said, great, Abdul, who are the first 3 people you want to tell this to? He literally just signed up. This was in the old days when we actually used a piece of paper to sign people up. So I was sitting with him. He signed up. I said, who's the first 3 people you want to tell this to? And he gave me 3 names. And you know where those 3 names are going to be with contact information? They're going to be in their cell phone, in their mobile phone. Why? Because those 3 names that come to mind, they're closest to them. They will always have them in their mobile phone. So this is great. So Abdul says, Alan would be the first person. Great, let's call Alan right now. And Abdul, of course, in this situation, he's scared. Like, well, what do I say? You don't have to worry. I'll do it for you. I will do it for you. Right? You can do it 2 ways. You can just give me the phone and I'll call Abdul, or I'll call Alan. Or you can make a short introduction and I'll take the phone. Now, we called Alan. So get this guy had been in the business for 5 minutes. And we were on the phone with a prospect. And he heard me do this call. And Alan was actually excited to take a look. Now, what do you think that does to somebody's belief? They've been in the business for 5 minutes and they have an interested prospect. Their belief goes woof, this way. They become almost unstoppable. So when they go home to their wife or their husband, and the wife or the husband, the girlfriend, boyfriend, say, "You're crazy to sign up in this. This will never work." Guess what? They already have proof that this is actually working. They already have somebody who's excited about taking a look. Are you getting this? So what this does is completely transform people's belief about that this is possible. They've been in the business for 5 minutes or a couple of days when you sit down and call with them. Because if they have to learn the scripts themselves, so they come to a training in 2 weeks, they have to learn the scripts, then they have to go home and they're nervous, they never get around to calling. Duplication is slow at best. But with this tell, show, do, duplication can be unbelievably quickly. So I show them how to do the calls with them, with real prospects. Then the final step is they do it. And this is so important, as we discussed before, because if you don't hear, or you hear them do the calls. They do it, you listen. Right? If it's not possible, if they're too far away, these days they can record their calls with an app and they can send you the recordings. So you can give them feedback. And if you don't do this, you don't know what is being duplicated down in your lines. It'll be the Chinese whispers. You don't know what it's going to be, but you do know that it is absolutely not going to be the most effective thing. Because it won't be a system. There is no overlap. Are you with me?